expect that. I mean, I could have expected you to say that I have some experience in education or something. Really, I don't know.
That's not important.
Yeah, more technical details, but this is overwhelming. Okay, I will try to to move over. So yes, I'm a technical person. My speech does not have so much feeling in it. And the topic, however, is quite as sad as Mona's. What I chose to talk to you about is education. And this is, I am an educator. I've been an educator for 10 years now. I work at university, so I've been teaching for 10 years. You might think that this topic would interest me because I am an educator, where surprisingly it hasn't really tormented me for the whole 10 years that I used to be an educator. Only recently I started to give it a real good thought, and maybe because I had kids recently and I started to think about their education. Why would this topic interest you? Well, probably not all of you have kids, so not yet interested in their education. But you are still here at Speaker Club, so you have some educational interests. You are here to educate something, right? Your ability to speak publicly and in English. And it might be that this topic could fit our conversation tonight. But before I share my thoughts on education with you, I suggest we also have an exercise, an English language exercise. This is because I love being a teacher. And, yeah. And because probably you would like to have some more insights on using the English language and what's the exercise about. Have you heard about false friends?
False friends.
You know what a false friend is in English, for example? It's a word that in English sounds very similar with a word in Romanian, for example, but it could be similar with words in other languages. But they mean very different things. Yeah? So these would be false friends. I will not give you examples. What you should do, I will try to misuse some false friends during my speech. And you could try to identify these misuses. You don't have to have so much knowledge in English. It should just scratch your ear a little bit. Let's try to see if we can identify them. I will try to use them. Badly, of course, wrongly. Okay, so this is the exercise. Now let's come back to our topic, the education. So I was telling you that I was interested recently in this topic, in education, because of my kids. I've been wondering lately, what kind of education do I want for my kids? And my answer became something like, I would like them to receive an education to prepare them for whatever expects them out there, for whatever they have to face later on. That would help them discover what their natural skills and talents are. That would help an education that would help them train themselves to use these natural skills, to enhance them. And I was wondering, does our educational system in Romania provide this for our children? Well, we all have our opinions on this. Probably we most agree on the topic. But let's try to check on these aspects with our educational system. So first of all, does our educational system prepare them for what they have to face later on? Well, considering that after finishing school it's a jungle out there, well, probably yes, it's preparing them, but in the sense that it's a jungle in the educational system. But otherwise, I'm not sure I can find any other job that is done well by our educational system. For example, Europe is constantly yelling at us, at Romania and other similar countries. You need to develop small businesses in Romania. And they're offering funding for developing such businesses, if maybe you are aware of this. But are we preparing our children to develop this entrepreneurial mindset? Because you need a mindset for this, which should be quite different from our parents' mindset, who used to work in fabrics, for example. Well, I don't think so, but recently I've been to Budapest and I visited a school for blind children, because I'm working in a research project where we're trying to develop some assistive device for blind people. And what I saw there and found out there was quite amazing. So they have kindergarten, they have primary school, they have gymnasium, and they have this arts and crafts school. They don't have high school, but an arts and crafts school, where they teach children, blind children, to use their hands to produce stuff like pottery or carpets, stuff like that. And in order for them to be able to make some money out of what they're producing, they could sell them. But the school itself, the institution, is a non-profit organization and cannot sell them. So what they do is they make the students start companies. And they teach them how to start a company. And they start a company at the beginning of each school year, and they end it when the school year, and they stop it. Yeah. So they're actually practicing this, which was amazing to me. Yeah. So blind children actually starting companies. I don't think I'm prepared to start a company, and I have master degrees and PhD degree. Okay, I'm not trained for this. Okay, let's take another aspect of our educational system. Does it offer our children the possibility to find out their natural talents and to enhance them and to develop them and to use them, and maybe later on to focus their education on this, so we're not wasting resources on some education that they might not need? Well, if you think about it, there are teachers in Romania, especially at the countryside, of course, who teach, for example, math and French and music at the same time. And they're probably like agricultural engineers or something. So what if a new Mozart or Beethoven or Enescu is born there? Do you think they have the ability to see that and to encourage their talents, to discover and encourage their talents? I don't think so. Well, the educational system, actually, these are bad stories, of course. They are bad examples of our educational system. But we can go further and try to see, for example, what is the educational system formed of, and maybe check on these components. So what you have the beneficiaries. Who are the beneficiaries? The students, their parents, and the entire society is the beneficiary. We have the education providers, that would be us, the teachers, that would be the institutions. Yeah. And also there's the management system, okay? Maybe the government and all the rules and the laws that govern this system. If we take, for example, the management system and check, is this working okay? Well, in theory, it seems like it is, because I had this curiosity a few years ago to read the educational law, because you know the education is governed by a law in Romania, like in all other countries. And something very surprisingly I found there. This law states that every child in Romania has a right for a student-oriented education. And this is the premise that the educational system is or should be based on, to have a student-oriented education. Do we have it? what does this actually mean, student-oriented education? It would mean that exactly what I told you, to prepare the children for what they would face later on, to help them discover the talents and enhance them and so on. Yeah, that would be, and working with them, with each individual student at their own pace. Okay? So are we providing this education? So let's take teachers, for example. And myself, I'm a very good starting point for assessing whether teachers in Romania are providing student-oriented education. I'm quite a critical person. I always assess myself. Yeah. No, I'm not providing student-oriented education. Actually, what's bad is that for a long time, I've been a bad and lousy teacher. For example, why do I say that? I was thinking at some point that distraction during class is beneficial for education. Having fun, for example, really helps. Yeah? But my idea of fun was irony, because I'm really an ironic person. Maybe a little too ironic. But I was using irony. Later on, I discovered that irony actually inhibits people, and students especially. Yeah? So it's really not a good idea to use it in class. I tried later on to change, to switch to something else for having fun, like choosing some fun topics for projects, like, okay, let's build a computer game and work in teams and make fun challenges and tasks. You know? I keep the irony about myself at this point. I'm trying to, at least. Now, we can take a look at the third component, the beneficiaries, the students. Yeah? To do that, I will tell you something about how things are going in university, and maybe you are all aware of this. For example, we have mathematicians who teach math. We have physicians who teach physics. So we have specialized people, maybe well-prepared professionals, who are teaching these specialties. But what if they're not good teachers? If they don't have the skills for teaching? Okay, this happens all over, but what we can compensate with is with the motivation of our students to be educated. And now let's check. Are they motivated to handle this education? Are they aware that they require this education? So I asked my students, especially my master students, because I can assume that they're quite grown-ups at 23, 24 years old. And I asked them, why are you here? What are you expecting from us and from me? And they gave me the most amazing answer. They really don't know. They really don't know what to ask for. They're not motivated to be educated. And this is not a good thing, of course. So we're missing lots of parts from all the components of the educational system that should work together. Now, of course, you'd say, but things are going quite okay. I mean, we have some education in Romania. We can probably manage with that. Do we really need to change something? Yeah. Well, probably yes. And I would work, for example, on the motivation of the students. But how to motivate them? Well, probably they come at the university and they have no expectation and they don't want to do anything because it's free. We have a nice word in Romanian for this, it's moca. Maybe if we make them pay, not the whole cost, but maybe share the cost with the state, with the government, maybe they will then come to me and really know what to ask for, and they will make me be better at educating them. Why would we need a better education system? Well, we have to admit that Romania is not, at this point, in a very good shape. right? And we have to do something to get it out of this degrading state. But for this, we're actually facing a vicious circle. To get it out of this state, we need very well prepared professionals. We need creative people. We have to be really creative to get out of this mess. But to get these people, and not only a bunch of people at the top level, maybe it would be better if the whole massive population would have some tendency at least for such attributes. But to get to such attributes for our population, we need to educate it better, right? But who to educate? The teachers. But in order to obtain such results, you have to have well-prepared teachers and creative teachers. And we don't have them at this point. And of course, probably, we are underpaid. And the system is working on very low money. Yeah? And having some extra money for the system, for the educational system would help with where to get it from, because we cannot take it from hospitals, we cannot take it from, I don't know what else, military and stuff like that. Maybe we can put the population, we can make the population contribute and make them self-aware about the need of education. And maybe things will get better. Okay. I will get a raise probably. That would be nice. Okay, so we have to break this. We have to break this vicious cycle, maybe in several points to be efficient. You, for example, can go home and think about it and maybe try to educate your kids and to educate their motivation for education. And then I could go and ask for a raise. That would help, yeah. Okay, so to conclude, I would like to share with you what we're wishing for, what we're wishing to our students when they graduate. You know that when they graduate, they have this ceremony, meeting where teachers attend and everything, and they're nicely dressed. And we, the teachers, are wishing them for mostly standard stuff, like to accomplish everything that they want and that they put their mind on, and to be successful and stuff like that. But above all, we wish them for good health and to take care of their health. Quite standard in Romania. We always wish each other health with various occasions, all occasions that we have. But there's more to it. We tell them that at the same time, students from medical school graduate, and maybe they know just as much about the human body as our students know about computers. Then you really need to take care of your health. Okay.
That was the other one.
Yeah. Now, have you noticed any false friend misused in my speech?
We were so
Yeah.
focused on your speech. No.
Really?
I guess educator, more like
No.
teacher.
No.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Trying to.
But I
Conspiracy
used
theory.
quite a lot. Did not
And
scratch your
just
eyes.
giving you a hint, maybe. Our parents work in fabrics.
Oh,
Yeah.
factories.
Factories,
Fabrics
fabric is
means-
clothes, textile.
Textile.
Maybe stuff like that.
Yeah, I know.
Just once I heard it and I didn't
Fabric,
realize.
yeah, and there was what else?
Distraction, maybe.
Distraction, yeah. That would be fun, but distraction means to keep your mind off the topic, to be distracted
I
from
Distract
something.
somebody
I
doesn't
took
mean
it like
to
that,
entertain
like a
somebody.
distraction.
Yes.
Like a
Yeah.
distraction
Yeah.
from...
We did it.
No, she,
No, but
learning
I
about
emphasized in
she
my
wanted
next
to have fun in
Yeah.
during the classes. And,
in my next sentence, I emphasized the fact that I was meaning fun, to have fun
Okay.
during the
yeah, I might have slipped some, but you also said physician, which
physician,
is
which is not
not a physics
It's not a
teacher.
physics teacher, is medical.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a doctor, physician.
Maybe there were some others, but I was personally I was attentive to your message, and maybe I missed some.
Yeah, I don't
myself.
know. if I remember them now, maybe I could check. I wrote them down.
Now, if
at
you
some point. Then
can
maybe
share
we
them with
should
us. Maybe you
give
didn't,
some-
maybe you want to tell them.
Gymnasium.
I thought about it, but you can still
I
use it.
know you can,
still use
but
it.
actually in the English language, gymnasium is gym, which is a
To
sport.
go to the gym, it's not, but
Yeah.
it comes from
In
Latin.
Europe, in Central Europe, we call gymnasium the secondary level school. Yeah.
It's not
And
really
they
a
also
forced-
call it like that in
America?
Romania, but it's quite forced.
They call it.
Secondary.
For natives,
No.
it's quite a forced use of gymnasium, for native English speakers.
It
Yeah.
comes
I
from
mean,
Latin,
if you go
it's
to
okay, like, it's
England
not.
or to the United States and you say gymnasium, it's like,
I don't agree. It's a false trend because most of the times, I have nothing with Americans. I mean, I have something with Americans, but not too much. Like I argue so many times with them on grammar and stuff like that, and I know that they are almost illiterate, and they have no idea about grammar, and they just speak. Like I heard so many times things like my bestest friend, the most awesomest, and stuff like this, which is.
You mean in America?
I know they're
Same.
trying, but how they pronounce words, for instance, they don't say curriculum vitae, curriculum vitae. It's French. It's Latin. It's curriculum vitae.
Okay. That's nice.
They don't.
You said something with
And
superlative,
gymnasium.
a wrong superlative. You said something at one point.
There
with a
were
wrong
some, but
superlative.
they weren't false trends.
But
It was
it
just
was intentional now. Like I told at the beginning, if I make mistake, this is beneficial for you because you learn about the false friends, and for me because I can say, oh, it's just a mistake, but intentionally.
Yeah, learn about false friends the hard way.
Were there any others that you?
And I don't remember if I used any other, but you always have the eventually, which is usually.
Eventually, it doesn't mean eventual. It means în cele din urmă.
And not always rely on Google Translate because when I check them
Never.
with
always.
Google Translate.
I actually want to speak about this topic. I was thinking about it all this time.
Yeah, I forgot that
Yeah, the false
gaming
friend.
part of it,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay, so I'm a bad teacher. I did tell you
And a
that
very
I'm
good
doing
speaker.
a
Yeah,
really last job as being a teacher.
You should motivate us to spot the false friend.
No, have a beer for.
Maybe give them prizes next time. Yeah.
Or make us
Usually I
pay for
motivate
it.
my students by giving them grades. And I can
Right.
always tell them you'll never pass this exam if you don't answer me this question. And they're really not motivated at all.
Like the problem with the educational system, from my point of view, is that society, you have to do. You have to go to university.
No,
have
you
to do
don't have to
something.
go to university.
Yeah, to get a degree
The
to work at the
society
mall,
thinks
right?
This,
Yeah,
like your parents
that's
always
true.
tell you, you have
It's the
to go to
paper that
university.
you,
Yeah.
that the society.
How
that
many of
society
you, I
says
bet
is
there are
good.
many of you that are not practicing their profession.
Yeah, I don't. I finished computer science
But
and work
if-
as a life coach.
If you were put to pay for a university degree, for example, maybe you would have given it a better thought on what you put your money in.
Yeah,
And
but
then if you
sometimes-
go there, you
Exactly.
try to make the best out of it.
I agree with
It's
this.
your
I
money.
agree, but now the majority is like that. It's free. I have to do it because my parents asked me to do so.
Everybody does
and
it, and it's
the
free.
family,
it's
yeah.
Mocha.
And they, like I had some classmates, they, what are you gonna do? I don't know, maybe geography. You like it? No, but it's easy, it's simple. I can do it. Like they do university just for degree because it's society acceptable
And if
to
you think,
do this.
okay, I'm not sure if this is the solution for us.
No,
It
no,
is-
it's not like
it is really.
the solution is in your, as you said, like to pay for it.
I'm
is
not sure
for
about it. I mean, it's just my thought on it.
I can agree. But
I've seen the system working like that in Europe, in other countries, yeah, and it's working. Yeah.
yeah,
But it might as well not work. I
Like,
don't know.
you want
I mean,
to pay
I'm
for
not in
something
the
you don't want
management
to do.
system. I'm in the education provider. I just need a raise, and maybe that was my idea of getting a raise. The money from the
We'll have the
students.
video on YouTube and
Yeah, I
promote it.
definitely be private because